Hi guys, this is your reading for the week of November 20th through the 26th. Before we get into the cards, I want to take a moment again to just thank everybody who has been supporting my channel in any way. I really appreciate your support. The numbers have just skyrocketed again this week, and I'm feeling so overwhelmed by gratitude for every single one of you. I especially appreciate those of you who have been reaching out to me personally, whether that's to chat or whether that's to book a session with me. It's been so wonderful getting to know you guys and getting your feedback and being able to be part of your journey. I really appreciate that. That is my absolute favorite part of what I do, is being able to interact with you in more meaningful ways and really be there for you to support you. So thank you for allowing me to do that. Along those lines, I want to remind everybody again that as a show of my appreciation and gratitude, for the rest of the month of November, all of my services are 30% off. So if you're wanting to book a tarot session or a life coaching session or a power animal retrieval, this would be a great time to do it. And as long as you purchase your service by the end of November, you're good to go. So you can purchase now and schedule your appointment for December or January or whenever you need to. So you'll still get that discounted price as long as you make your purchase by the end of November, and then just schedule out for whenever it is that you feel you're going to be ready. I know it can be kind of crazy and chaotic with scheduling during the holidays, so don't feel like you're going to miss out on the sale if you can't book this month, okay? And getting into the holidays, I do have one more announcement that I want to make. So nobody really wants to talk about how the holidays can be immensely stressful in terms of family issues or relationship problems. Those things do tend to come up during the holiday season, as much as we wish that they didn't. So I know that this time of year can be really stressful for people on that level, myself included. I've got quite a history of family trauma myself. So what I'm doing on Thanksgiving is I'm opening up my schedule for anybody who ends up in a crisis situation and you need somebody to talk to. I know what that's like, to end up in this huge family fight and things just get blown out of proportion and it just explodes, and you can just feel so unsettled and scared or angry and just not know how to deal with the situation because you're just so immersed in the emotions of it. So on Thanksgiving, I am going to leave myself open that day so that people can contact me. So if you end up in one of those situations where you have a major crisis with your family or with your significant other, and you need that support and you need somebody to help calm you down and maybe give you some suggestions for what you can do to navigate that situation, please let me know. That is my forte. I have lots of personal experience with these sorts of, especially family-related crisis situations. And I've also done some mediation work, and I worked in a correctional facility for a while in the booking department, so I saw things from pretty much every angle you can imagine. So if you need assistance on Thanksgiving, you can reach out to me. One thing I am going to say though is reach out to me directly. I'm going to put the link in the description box below for my email address and for my Facebook page so that you can contact me through there. I'm going to, on my website, if you try to schedule something that day on the calendar, it's going to look like it's closed out, but that's because I'm not doing any regular services that day. This is specifically for crisis situations. If you find yourself in a spot where things have totally exploded and you need somebody to turn to, I am here for you, so feel free to reach out. I will be keeping close tabs on my email and my Facebook page all day that day, just in case somebody needs assistance. I hope that you guys don't. I hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and that everything goes off without a hitch and you get to have just a beautiful, blessed day. But I know that that doesn't always happen, and so I want to make sure that you guys have somebody that you can reach out to in a time of crisis, okay? And I'll probably do something similar for Christmas Day as well. I haven't decided on that yet. I don't know what my plans are. But for Thanksgiving, definitely I will be here to support you if you need me. So do not be hesitant to reach out. I am completely opening myself up that day just for that purpose. So I am on call, okay? All right, so now we can get into the cards for this week. All right, so this week, the first card that we have is Scales of Balance. not a super surprising card to get at the beginning of the holiday season. You know, we're really starting to get into it now, heading into Thanksgiving. This is just the beginning, right? And during holiday season, what do we have the tendency to do? Fall into excess with a lot of things. So we want to make sure that we're being balanced with everything. You know, balanced with our finances, balanced with our diet, balanced with our lifestyle choices in general. You know, not going overboard with anything. But what this card really has to do with more prominently is making sure that we're bringing balance into our interpersonal relationships. Because during the holiday season, what do? We spend a lot of time with people, and maybe not people that we normally do spend much time with during the rest of the year. So, you know, if you're going to company Christmas parties, maybe you're going to be spending more casual time around coworkers than you normally would. You know, if you're going home for the holidays or having family come visit you, you know, these are not necessarily relationships that we work on every day. And so there's, you know, a tendency for things to get out of balance, especially if there's a shared history where maybe there's some conflict or just not being able to get along, or straight up trauma and abuse. You know, that's that tendency for things to get out of whack, for us to feel unstable. And even if we don't have any, you know, conflicts that we see coming up, we can still just feel a little bit unstable during the holidays because we are spending so much time around other people. And with all of the changes that we've been making over the last few months of expanding our energy field and really stepping into our power and cutting ties with people and all of that, this is a really vulnerable state for us to still be in. It's very easy for us to feel imbalanced. So the big focus for us this week as we really get into the holiday season with Thanksgiving is to make sure that we're approaching everything in a balanced way. This is especially important in terms of community because the next card that we get is the Temple of Lapis Lazuli. And this is really about community. That's what this card is, especially your soul family or your spiritual tribe, as it were. And soul family can pertain to a lot of different things, but most of the time these are the people that on a soul level we made some of those contracts with to help each other out and to learn things from each other and stuff like that. And so, you know, we need to make sure that we're being balanced in those relationships and that we're being balanced in the community as a whole, that we're doing our part to contribute to things moving smoothly and efficiently and making sure that things, you know, stay as calm as possible. You know, if there's a conflict that has to come up, then let it come up and deal with it as it comes. But the big focus for us this week is to kind of be the neutral observer, to be the mediator, if possible, in situations of conflict that arise maybe with other people or with ourselves too, to really make sure that we're bringing as much balance into the situation as possible. And again, we're a little bit vulnerable in that state, but this is an opportunity for us to level up. You know, we've been doing a lot of integration and stepping into our power, and this is like the first real big test that we have to see if we can keep our energy field safe, you know, from maybe dense energies that come in from other people, or just from being drained by having too much interaction with other people. You know, the holidays are really a time when we get overloaded socially. Even if we're not going to events and things like that, you go out into the world and everybody's cramming in their holiday shopping, and you're just exposed to a lot more people's energy, you know, bumping into people more frequently because spaces are more crowded this time of year. So this is really a time for us to make sure that we're keeping ourselves balanced and grounded and keeping our energy field safe and secure, and, you know, making sure that as we're interacting with people, we're doing that in a way that is conducive to facilitating peaceful interactions as much as possible. That's our challenge this week, okay, is to, and not a challenge in the sense of, oh my god, this is necessarily going to be like super hard and everything's going to be horrible and things are going to explode. Not that kind of challenge, okay? This is more of just an overall challenge for us in a positive way to be like, okay, I've done some leveling up. I'm feeling pretty secure in myself. It's time for me to really implement these skills, you know, whereas before maybe we were kind of like test driving it here and there with individual relationships, but now we're going to be having so much more social interaction with people we know and people who we don't know at all. So this is really the opportunity for us to try these things out and implement them in real world ways, all right? What may come up this week with all of these social interactions, though, is truths unveiled. So this card is letting us know that there may be situations that come up where there are conflicts because something is going to be exposed, something is going to be revealed. We are still in that Scorpio energy for a couple more days before it switches into Sagittarius season. But even after it switches into Sagittarius season, there's still Jupiter in Scorpio, which is all about exposing secrets, you know, bringing things to the surface, making definitive choices for what you want for your life, and, you know, taking action to make that happen. And that can bring up some very uncomfortable situations, especially if you're dealing with, you know, family members that maybe you've had issues with, or, you know, anything along those lines. Or maybe there's just a big secret that's going to be exposed that's going to totally rock your world, and you're not going to know how to handle it. But this Truths Unveiled card usually pertains to something that's going to initially make you uncomfortable, that's going to challenge you in terms of whether or not you're going to be able to stay balanced and stay stable within yourself. So if you feel something kind of coming, if you feel like there's something brewing, you don't know what it is, but you just sense that there's something there, that's your inner guidance letting you know that there's a catalyst that's about to happen for further growth for you, you know, on a personal level, but also you and other people in your interpersonal relationships. There's some culmination points going on here, and we're not just Jupiter and Scorpio, but we're in a lot of transits right now that are really pushing us to make decisions and to take bold action when we don't feel necessarily safe to take those actions, where we would rather not because we feel so vulnerable. But we need to, because this is part of our leveling up in our spiritual evolution, and this is going to be what is going to facilitate our process of really propelling forward into the future that we're wanting for ourselves. So don't be afraid of these things that are going to be exposed this week, because it's happening for a reason. It's happening so that you can see everything clearly, and so that you can really implement all of the skills that you've been learning along the way, and, you know, getting a feel for where you're at and how stable you really are, how empowered you really are, how balanced you are, and maybe what you need to work on. Okay? All right, so the first card that Kuan Yin brings us is the Radiant Moon of Compassion. So with all of this stuff going on, and all of this potential for conflict, and maybe just spending more time around people, it can be hard for us sometimes to remain in compassion, even with complete strangers. Like I said, we go out into the world, everybody's doing their holiday shopping, it's chaotic, and people can get stressed out, and they can act kind of nasty to each other. And you know, it's hard to be in compassion, because you just want to like get in and get out and not have to deal with a bunch of hassle. But there's all these lines, and people aren't being very nice to each other, and it's just not like conducive sometimes for you to be feeling a whole lot of love in your heart. You know, we would like to believe that during the holiday season that's just natural, that we just feel joyous and happy and loving, and that would be great if we did. But there is that heavy sense of commercialism and a lot of pressure behind the holidays to be happy all the time, even when maybe you don't feel like it. So all of that pressure and all of that stress can cause us to have like a hard time having compassion with other people, and also have compassion with ourselves too. Because a lot of times, especially if you come from a background that maybe was difficult, you know, if you've got something traumatic in your background, in your family history, where, you know, the holidays are just rough because you have these these memories of trauma that come up every time the holiday season comes up. It triggers something within you. It can be challenging too, because there is so much pressure to focus in on family and to be happy during the holidays. And that's not easy for everybody. Not everybody comes from a fantastic, family environment. Not everybody has that. And a lot of people have significant issues in their family, and that really gets brought back up to the surface, especially if you have to be face to face with these people that you have a shared history of trauma and crisis with. So it's really important for us to focus this week on really moving into compassion. Compassion for other people and compassion for ourselves. And if you're having a hard time doing that, ask the divine for help. They are there to support you in this. They know that this is a vulnerable time for you. They know that this is a time when you're going to feel a little bit shaky, or you could feel a little bit shaky anyway, and they want to be there to help you. So if you find yourself feeling angry or resentful, or you're having these things come up and you're not feeling like you can be compassionate, call on the divine. They will assist you. All right. And that's pretty much what the next card is the many hands of the goddess, which is that feeling of just like being overwhelmed. Okay. Spreading yourself too thin, letting your battery run a little bit low, not taking care of yourself, feeling like you're just overwhelmed by everything going on around you. Maybe that's a busy schedule. Maybe that's conflicts. Maybe that's just being overwhelmed by all of the stimuli around you, the Christmas lights and people and noise and all of that. There's this propensity to feel really overwhelmed. And that, again, can tie into why it's hard for us to kind of feel compassion, because there's just so much input in a lot of different ways. So the divine is letting us know, again, we're here to back you up. We're here to support you. If you feel like you're struggling, let us know. If you feel drained, let us know. If you feel like you're having a hard time being compassionate, let us know. If you're having just a hard time with this holiday season and all of the energy and pressure that it brings, contact us. We're here to help you. That's what the divine is saying with this card, is that they want to be here to support us through whatever comes up for us this holiday season. And whatever comes up for us when we're having these more intense interactions with people, and intense possibly because of conflicts, but intense too just because there's so much of it, okay? So contact the divine, tap into that, and tap into your community, the ones that you feel like you can lean on. The Temple of Lapis Lazuli tied into that too. It's not just, the potential for conflicts within your community. It's also making sure that you're connecting in to the members of your tribe that feel safe, that you can talk to, vent to, relate to, get counsel from. So tap into the divine, tap into your tribe, and get the help that you need if you find yourself struggling. All right. And next we get the Empress of the Pearl. So this card is about how, frustrations and challenges give us the opportunity to create something beautiful. All right. And we've had this card before, but it's been a while since we've had it. And it's coming up again now because this is, again, a more challenging time. We're still pretty vulnerable. We've been stepping into our power. Our energy field's been expanding. We've been doing all of this work, but we're still pretty vulnerable. And as we move into the holidays, there's going to be a lot more opportunity for situations to arise that really test us. It's that raspberry seed between your teeth, or the pebble in your shoe that just, you don't want to focus on it, but you can't help it. It's just there. You can't leave it alone, And that's what the Empress of the Pearl is it's letting you know that these things are going to happen, but they're happening for a reason. And it's for you to understand your creative power, your creative ability. Because what you can do is you can take those moments of frustration and irritation, and you can transmute the energy, and you can turn it into something beautiful. Pearls are formed because there's an irritant that gets into the oyster, and the oyster forms this protective coating around the irritant until it no longer is an irritant. And ultimately what we get from that is a pearl, which is this beautiful creation that's the creation process behind it is actually kind of magical. It's very interesting, and we have that capacity to turn our frustrations into something beautiful this week, all right? But if you feel yourself struggling, make sure that you make use of the community that you have that you can trust, both in terms of divine beings and in terms of actual physical people that you can interact with, all right? And then the final card that Kuan Yin gives us is Hear the Yellow Tiger Mother. And this card is about staying strong within yourself. And I feel that this is really tying into that Truths Unveiled card and the Empress of the Pearl too, and the Compassion card, because this is about really staying true to yourself and trusting yourself and staying firm in your convictions and in your confidence, and not letting yourself be swayed, not letting yourself be guilt-tripped or dominated or anything like that. It's just you standing strong within yourself no matter what comes up. Because there's the potential for anything to happen, you know. Good, bad, and different, there's a potential for anything to happen. You know, we never really have complete control over all of the events in our lives, but during these times of the year when we're spending a lot more time around people, the realm of possibilities expands exponentially. So be prepared for anything that happens by just steadying yourself, trusting yourself, checking in with yourself and making sure, okay, do I feel grounded? Do I feel anchored and rooted in? Do I still feel pretty strong? Am I feeling like I can face whatever challenge comes up with grace and with dignity? Do I feel fearful? Is that something that I need to address? If I feel fearful, what do I feel fearful about? Prepare yourself for that and know that you're strong enough to withstand any challenge that comes up, okay? You're transmuting these energies. You're turning it into something beautiful, all right? Okay, so moving into the medicine cards. The first one that we get is Eagle. So usually this card is linked into our connection to Source. Eagle is kind of source energy. That's more or less what it represents. So there is an aspect of that because we are utilizing the assistance of the divine to help us in situations where we feel overwhelmed or where we feel like we're not going to be strong enough to do things on our own. And by the way, you are strong enough to do things, but you may feel like you just need a little bit of an extra boost, and that's totally okay. So Eagle is representing that. But the message that I got from the divine is that this is also about getting a bird's eye view of the situations that you're in, all right? Getting that broader perspective, not getting so wrapped up in the emotional energy and friction that can come up in these situations where things are exposed or there's conflicts. Make sure that you're taking a step back and you are, you know, getting that bird's eye view, getting the bigger picture, separating yourself from it a little bit if you have to, in order to make sure that you're seeing things with clarity, you're recognizing the truth in it, and that you know how to respond appropriately, and that you feel like you can respond appropriately. You feel calm enough and stable enough that you're capable of that, all right? The next card that we get, we've been seeing a lot of lately, is Jaguar. All right, so this card, again, is all about our integrity. It's so important right now to stand in your integrity. That's where your strength comes from, all right? Be true to yourself. Be honest, be open, be compassionate, but make sure that you're being honest and open. You know, you don't have to be a jerk about things. You don't have to be confrontational. You're just stating your truth. You're being in your power. That's what this is really about. Be honest about who you are and own it. There's nothing wrong with who you are. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you, all right? You just need to make sure that you're really standing firm within yourself. And it's not about trying to control other people. I mean, jaguars are powerful animals. You know, they're at the top of the food chain in most situations. But this is not about controlling other people through aggression. This is just about you standing firm. This is about you being steady and stable and grounded and solid within yourself. That's what it's about, all right? And then the next card that we get is Elk. So this card is about stamina and being able to withstand the challenges that we find ourselves in, all right? Tying into that Empress of the Pearl card, where we're transmuting the energy, and sometimes that takes some endurance. Sometimes we have to wade through some really uncomfortable situations. We may have to deal with conflict, and we need to make sure that we have the energy to deal with that conflict appropriately, you know, that we have it within us to just stay the course. And by stay the course, I mean stay the course with your integrity and withstanding your power and just being you, just being solidly you, because you know who you are now, all right? You've done so much work over the last few months to really establish who you are, to remember yourself, to remember your power. This is an opportunity to implement it, but it may require some real effort from you, okay? And with the story of Elk and the medicine cards, this is also about being able to survive a difficult situation of being attacked by just continuing on, you know, just keep going no matter how tired you get. Because in the story of Elk, you know, Elk is being chased by Cougar, and you know, Cougar's a lot faster. It's a lot more powerful of an animal. But Elk doesn't give up. He's climbing up this mountain, and yeah, he's stumbling and he's kind of sliding here and there, but he just keeps going. And sooner or later, you know, Cougar may be, you know, faster and more powerful, but he runs out of energy real fast, okay? Elk doesn't run out of energy because he just stays the course. He doesn't look back and get fearful and let himself get frozen in that fear. He just keeps moving forward. He just stays true to himself, just stays on course and just keeps moving forward, and trusts that he's going to make it out of this by just, you know, maintaining his stamina and really pushing himself to overcome this situation, to make it out of this alive, to make it out of this safe and secure, okay? And finally, Elk is also about connecting to people that you can trust, especially people that are of the same, I'm going to call it gender energy or gender identity as you. So if you are more of a stronger masculine, connecting into other masculines. If you're a stronger feminine energy, connecting into other feminine energies. This card is very much about working with your soul tribe in terms of, you know, getting assistance that you need to maybe keep you going, to give you that boost that you need to keep moving forward, but really connecting in to those who you can relate to most. And a lot of times the ones that we can relate to most are people that share the same sort of gender energy that we have, that display, you know, those qualities and personality characteristics that are more similar to our own. All right. So again, utilize the assistance of your tribe. The divine is there for you. You have people that you can trust. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, you can reach out to me if you find yourself in a difficult situation on Thanksgiving. That's why I'm doing this, because I know what it's like to be in situations where you feel powerless, where you feel scared, where you feel stuck, where you just don't know what to do. I know what that's like. So if you need help, you have resources, all right? You really do. You have resources. So make use of those if you feel like you're really struggling and you don't feel like you're going to be able to keep going on your own. You can keep going on your own. You can, all right? You have that within you. I really want to stress that, because you are in your power. You have the capacity to withstand anything just by being yourself and standing on your own 2 feet. But that doesn't mean that you can't ask for assistance. It doesn't mean that you can't reach out. You know, you don't have to go it alone, but know that if push comes to shove and you find yourself without recourse, that you can do this on your own. Just keep going. All right, okay? All right, and then the next card that we get is Otter. So Otter is an animal that's very closely associated with water. And what is water associated with? Emotions. All right, so this is a week when there's a lot of potential for emotions to just kind of be everywhere. You know, we connect to people's emotions all the time by connecting to their energy field. We bump into people and we've connected to their energy field, okay? And we get that emotional exchange, you know? So there's a lot of emotional energy that's floating around this week. But know that you've got this. Like, Otter is really good with maneuvering through the waters and navigating around, finding their way. Otter is also about feminine power and feminine energies. So if you're finding yourself getting lost in the emotions, tap into your femininity, because the feminine energy within you understands emotions. It knows how to work with emotions, and it doesn't get overwhelmed by them. All right. The other thing with otters are pretty community oriented in themselves. They're playful. They're interactive. You know, they don't generally go into situations assuming that they're going to get attacked. You know, they would rather keep the energy light. They like to play. They like to interact. And so what we're being told is that Otter's going to be with us this week, helping us to not feel like we're in such a struggle, okay? Otter's going to be there to help us navigate these emotional waters, and to do it with grace, and to do it with humor. That's going to be so important this week, and as we move into the holiday season in general, is to keep your sense of humor, all right? That's so important, because it's too easy for us to get super serious, and especially if we're dealing with situations where there's a potential for conflict, and we can go into these scenarios expecting things to explode. But that law of attraction is what happens when we do that. We create more of that energy that makes things more likely to explode in our faces. So don't do that. You know, try to keep your energy as light as possible. Trust yourself to be able to get through anything and everything that gets thrown at you, and do it with humor, okay? As much as possible, keep your sense of humor. If you find that you're having a hard time doing that, reach out to your friends that you can trust, that you can talk to, and, you know, get each other laughing, get that interaction going to raise the vibration. Watch funny movies, look at, you know, funny GIFs or memes on the internet, whatever it is that you need to do to keep your sense of humor, do that. All right. All right. So then the final card that we get from the medicine card deck is Turtle. And again, this is kind of getting into that watery energy, but the difference, well, and really not different at all, because Otter is just as comfortable on Earth as it is in water. And the same thing applies to Turtle. There's this call for us this week as we're moving through all of the interpersonal relationship stuff, knowing that there's going to be more of an emotional energy. There's this call for us to have, you know, one foot in the water and one foot on earth, so we stay grounded, even when we're in these watery emotional energies, that we stay grounded, that we stay stable within ourselves, because that's what's going to allow us to keep our humor. That's what's going to allow us to stay empowered, to stay in our integrity. That's what's going to allow us to get that bird's eye view and to distance ourselves enough that we can respond to situations in ways that are productive and ways that are going to facilitate happy outcomes. All right. And Turtle is also about this maternal energy and nature. So if you find maybe that you're feeling depleted this week, find opportunities to get out in nature, okay? Spend some time with Gaia, you know, hang out with Mother Earth. She's also part of your team, you know, to help you out here. I mean, we always have access to the divine. We always have access to, you know, our circle of friends that we can trust, and we always have access to Mother Earth, you know, for all the abuse that we put her through. She's still so compassionate and so loving. So if you feel like you're struggling, take an opportunity to distance yourself from the situations that you're in and go chill out with Mother Earth, okay? She's just ready and waiting there for you to come hang out with her, and she's happy to show you beautiful things and to help you keep perspective, to get that bird's eye view by separating yourself from your problems and realizing that the world is so much bigger than you, that it's so much bigger than your tiny little circle, and it's so much bigger than any issue or problem that you have, and there's so much beauty in the world too, okay? So nature is also a really good resource for you. You have so many resources this week to help you through any conflict or challenge that arises, so utilize them, okay? And then finally getting into the tarot cards. The first card that we get is the Wheel of Fortune. How many times are we going to get this card? It's just all over the place. In almost every single reading I do, I end up getting the Wheel of Fortune, because there's still a lot of karmic activity going on. You know, there always is. You know, karma is essentially the universal law of cause and effect, all right? So there's always going to be karma at play, but that's really been prominent energies the last few months because there's been karmic patterns that we've had to break. There's been people that we've had to let go of. There's been new karmic contracts to form. These are still continuing themes because we're still in transition. You know, transition doesn't happen in one day, most of the time anyway. Sometimes you have these weird, crazy things where just big changes all happen in one day. But usually that's not really how it works. Usually it's something that takes time to go through transition. And the transition that we're going through right now and have been going through is very related to these karmic patterns and karmic relationships that we have. And that theme continues this week, and it's probably going to be brought to the surface again even more because we are going to be interacting with people that we don't interact with as much during the rest of the year. Things have the potential to come to the surface, especially in terms of conflict, where it's time for us to break pattern with some things. You know, it's really easy, especially with family, to fall into the old patterns that we have with them because we've had them for, you know, this entire lifetime. We have all this shared history. We've been perpetuating these patterns for a long time. And we've been kind of, a lot of us anyway, have been kind of been able to fly under the radar in terms of, you know, maybe cutting cords with some family members, things like that, because they're not really a relevant part of our everyday lives. And so we've been able to kind of fly under the radar. But as we move into the holiday season, we're interacting more with family, and so there's a potential for old patterns to arise, and there are some patterns that we need to break, okay? And that responsibility is kind of, well, I mean, it's everybody's responsibility to do that, but the more awakened you are spiritually, the more that responsibility kind of settles onto your shoulders. Don't get weighed down by it, okay? That's part of why you have so many resources available to you and why you're being encouraged to keep your humor in everything. Because, you know, there is the potential for some heaviness this week. There doesn't have to be, but there is the potential for it. So be prepared for that. Know that more of this responsibility to break karmic patterns is on your shoulders as a more awakened individual, but that you have everything you need within you to handle this situation, all right? You have your humor, you have your power, you've really done some immense growing, you've really integrated a lot of these aspects of yourself. You're a lot stronger, you're a lot wiser, you're more powerful. But I mean, that in and of itself can kind of cause some uncomfortable situations, especially for maybe people that you have all this shared history with, but they haven't really been around you that much over these last few months. And you've changed a lot over a very short period of time, and people don't respond well to change sometimes, okay? So there may be this possibility for, you know, conflicts to arise because you've changed so much. But know that no matter what happens, no matter what irritation or frustration you come up against, no matter what confrontation or conflict arises, you have everything that you need within you and within your tribe, the divine, your physical, you know, your physical soul tribe that you count on, and Mother Earth. You've got so much support, and you are super strong now, okay? So whatever comes up, you've got this, all right? So don't worry about it, just be aware. All right. And the next card that we get is the Two of Swords. So this is a choice point. All right. In the traditional tarot system, this card is a picture of a woman who's sitting on a throne, more or less, and she's blindfolded, and she's got, you know, these two swords that she has crossed across her chest. And this is a choice point where you're deciding between things. You know, you're deciding, am I going to continue these same old patterns? Am I going to break these patterns? With the Swords energy, you have the capacity and the power and the resources to cut through these patterns, okay? And maybe if necessary to cut ties to certain people that you thought you were going to be cool with, it. Maybe you're not, okay? So that Two of Swords energy gives you the resources to be able to cut through any confusion or anything like that. However, there is the capacity that we have to willfully blind ourselves to these choice points, to feel like we don't have a choice, to feel like we just have to continue in the same patterns, or to feel like, well, what's the point of, what's the point of really doing anything? Because it's not like I have to deal with this person on a regular basis. I only see them a couple of times a year. I can just let this slide. I can fall back into the same old patterns. Just this once, just this couple times a year that I see this person. There's not really a need for me to stand my ground. I'll just put up with it. I'll just deal with it. It's fine. We've kind of reached a point where that's not fine anymore. Okay, we've got such a push, especially with Jaguar showing up so frequently. There's such this push for us to really stand in our integrity in all situations. So even if you're dealing with people that maybe you won't have to deal with for another year, it doesn't matter, all right? Because there's this push from the universe to really stand strong in yourself and to make choices that are going to be conducive and supportive of your spiritual evolution and your growth. And even if it seems like it's insignificant, there's not really any such thing as insignificant right now with this energy and this push to stand in our power. Everything contributes to that, all right? So don't blind yourself to your options here, and don't just choose not to see, okay? We need to be aware. It's important that we be aware, because we also never know like what things might seem small right now but then become really big later on. It could be blown out of proportion later on. So don't be blind. Go into this with full vision and know that you have options, know that you have choices, know that you have the resources available to you to cut through any crap and to cut any cords that you might have to, okay? Maybe not, but if that happens, know that you can, you have the resources, you have the choice, all right? But the other thing with this card is also kind of a truce energy, all right? Where it's, I'm not going to fight with you. I'm just going to stand my ground, but I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not engaging, all right? And that is kind of where we want to be. All right, so if these conflicts arise, if you find yourself running into confrontational situations, you don't have to engage. You can stand in your integrity, stand your ground, be sure of yourself without fighting back. That is not necessary. Fighting doesn't fix anything. It doesn't resolve anything, all right? Just stand your ground and have that truce energy of, I am not going to fight. If you want to have a rational conversation, if you want to work through this as an uncomfortable conversation instead of a brawl, I'm in it. But I'm not going to fight you, all right? And you have the protection of the swords. I'm not going to fight you. And if we fight, I'm probably going to win because I'm better armed than you are, all right? So this Two of Swords energy has a lot of different meanings for us. It's that choice point. It's making sure that we're not blinding ourselves. It's making sure that we really stand fully in our integrity. And it's, making sure that we are aware of the resources available, that we are aware that we have the tools necessary to extricate ourselves from any situations that aren't healthy for us or any relationships that aren't healthy for us. And it's also giving this energy of, I am not going to engage with this argument. I'm just not going to do it. It's not helpful. It's not necessary. I won't do that. If you want to have an uncomfortable conversation, we'll do that, but I'm not fighting. So that Two of Swords is, for a minor arcana card, it was really loaded with all of these meanings this week. All right, the next card that we get is the Five of Pentacles reversed. So the Five of Pentacles, when it's upright, is really challenging energy. It's kind of this being left out in the cold, feeling isolated, feeling like you don't belong, feeling really unsafe, feeling uncomfortable, and feeling like everything is just like, it's not like tower energy where it's explosive, but it is this sense of like, things in my world just aren't right, all right? So that's what it means when it's upright, but it's reversed. And the reason why it's reversed is because we are so empowered at this point that we recognize that feeling of isolation and being left out in the cold is our choice. That's part of what that Two of Swords choice point is recognizing that we're only going to be left out in the cold if we choose to be out in the cold, all right? We don't have to. we can choose to improve the situation, and we improve the situation by just standing our ground, you know, not fighting, not being a jerk. You're just standing your ground. You're being confident within yourself. You're keeping your sense of humor. That's really important. Again, I'm going to stress that again. Otter really wants us to make sure that we keep our sense of humor. Whatever it takes for you to keep your sense of humor, do that, because that's what's going to reverse that Five of Pentacles energy, so that we don't feel left out in the cold. We don't feel like everything is just off and there's nothing we can do about it. We don't feel powerless. We don't feel trapped. We don't feel unsafe. We have the power to get ourselves out of that warped perspective, because that's all it is. It's just a perception, all right? We have the ability to shift our perception, all right? Even if you have always like had a very toxic or negative shared history with this particular person that you're interacting with, and it's made you feel unsafe and you felt very vulnerable in the past, you are not that same person anymore, okay? You have it within you to withstand anything and to do it with grace and with dignity, and know that it's not a threat. You have nothing to be afraid of, because the only way that your power can be taken from you is if you hand it over voluntarily, which is another reason why the Two of Swords is letting us know, don't blind yourself, because you need to be aware of ways in which other people are trying to convince you to give away your power. They cannot take it. You have to give it away. But if you're not aware, if you're not mindful, you can be manipulated into giving your power away. So don't let that happen, okay? All right, the next card that we get is the Justice card. You seeing a progression going on here? So the Justice card is balancing that scales. Okay, so we've kind of got that same energy going on here. We're bringing balance into the situation, but we're also, with this card, we're bringing justice into the situation. If there's been something that's been toxic, it's been amiss, it's just not been healthy, it's not been right, we have the ability now to change that, you know. And look at that, she's got that sword, she knows what she's doing, all right? She has the ability to defend herself if she has to, but she only uses that sword for defense. And this is her being balanced in that energy of, I'm not going to engage. I have the ability to protect myself if I have to, but I am not going to engage in unnecessary fights and arguments and conflicts. I am just going to be me. I'm going to be in my integrity. I'm going to stand in my power. And that's where I'm at. And if you're not there, well, that sounds like a personal problem to me, and you should probably deal with that. But that's really not my problem, okay? So that's what this Justice energy is. We are justice this week, in the sense of we're balancing the scales. We're the ones who are breaking karmic patterns. We're the ones who are bringing justice into situations that maybe were unjust for a very long time, where there was victimization going on or things like that. We're breaking that pattern now. That is within our power, all right? The next card that we have is Temperance. So there's a lot of this energy of needing to be patient and compassionate, all right? So that's tying into that Radiant Moon of Compassion card. And this is also that that vibe of, you know, I'm not going to engage, I'm just going to be me, I'm here, I am unconditional love, I am light, I am patience, I am compassion, I am all of these things. That is part of me standing in my power. That's part of me being in my integrity, is being that true soul essence that is divine, you know, that is loving, that is kind, that is compassionate. And Otter comes in with that too. You know, Temperance is also kind of a water card. So Otter is coming in with that as well. And, you know, facilitating happy outcomes by making situations safe, okay? Because when we get into these conflict situations, especially if it's a big family ordeal, there's this huge sense of not feeling safe. Nobody feels safe. And that's why this, you know, this very defensive attitude comes out and people attack each other and all of that. You have the ability to be the mediator this week. Whether that's you know, taking a balanced approach in your interactions with a person, or maybe there's you know, an issue that doesn't really involve you, but you're present for it and you're kind of on the sidelines, you have the capacity to step in and be mediator and be very successful at it and bring peace and balance back into the situation, all right? So the Temperance card and the Justice card are really you this week, all right? You are that, and you are also, the final card that we have is the Queen of Cups, okay? So again, this watery, emotional energy, the Queen of Cups rocks that, all right? Excuse me. She is all up in that emotional business, okay? And she does it in a very stable and balanced way, all right? She can navigate through those waters just like Otter can. And she is very confident in her ability to navigate those murky emotional waters and to be empowered in it, and to also to be able to provide this nourishment to other people around her. And I feel like, you know, the Temperance card and the Queen of Cups have that same thing in common, where there's an offering of water. You know, people can become very emotionally parched. You know, it's that whole, you know, feeling of, you know, water everywhere and not a drop to drink. And people can get that. They can get so into their emotions that they get kind of stupid in them, okay? I hate to be that person to say that, but that's the truth. People can get so wrapped up in their emotions, it can make them act kind of stupid, all right? They can get momentarily stupid because they don't have clarity. They're so wrapped up in the intensity of the moment, and they can't see clearly, and they don't realize that all they need to do is, you know, is to accept those emotions, to dive into them and trust their ability to navigate through those waters. Most people are not comfortable doing that, but you have the ability this week to do that. The Queen of Cups is, in terms of that emotional energy, is probably the most powerful. Even though she's a minor arcana, she's probably the most, or at least one of the most powerful figures in the tarot system for these emotional energies. That is her home. That is what she does, and she does it really, really well. All right, so if you find yourself in situations where people are just, they're drowning in their emotions, but they're parched, they're dehydrated, you know, they're so thirsty that it's making them crazed, and it's putting them on the point of madness, okay? If you're finding yourself in situations where you're surrounded by people who are in that energy, know that you not only have the ability to be confident in your own capacity to navigate these emotional waters, but you also have the capacity to show others how to balance these things out, to navigate these waters, to get into their emotions without becoming so immersed in them that they get stupid, okay? And to do this with humor. You have the ability to do this with grace and with humor, so make sure that you do that, you make that the emphasis of it, all right? So you're in a really empowered space this week. Yes, there's potential for some heaviness and some challenges, but you have got this, all right? Don't get freaked out by it. Don't get afraid of it. Don't get even nervous about it, because you have no reason to. You'll get into these situations, and as soon as you're in them, you'll realize, oh, wait, this isn't as scary as I remember it being. Or, oh, wait, what? I don't feel compelled to fight. Or, I don't feel guilt-tripped. They're trying to guilt-trip me. I don't feel guilt. That's weird. So, like, you'll get into these situations where maybe you felt a lot of anxiety around it, and you'll get there and you'll realize, wait, this isn't scary at all. I totally have this. That's what the energy is really this week. And that's why I say this is a really great opportunity in that leveling up, because even though there's these challenges, this is showing you how adept you have become at managing these challenges, okay? So try not to get nervous or anxious or anything like that about what's coming up in your interpersonal relationships with other people during the holiday season, because you have got this. You don't necessarily know that yet, but as soon as you step into these situations, you're going to realize that you've got this. Like, this is nothing. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's no threats. This is a cakewalk. You know what to do, and you're fully capable of doing it, and you know that. All right, so those are the cards that I've got for this week. Again, if you do find yourself in a sticky spot and you feel like you're without recourse and you feel the need to talk to somebody, vent to somebody, get an objective point of view or a pep talk or a joke, something. Again, I'm open all day on Thanksgiving specifically for that purpose. Again, don't try to schedule a session with me because it's going to be blocked out in my calendar because I'm not doing regular sessions. This is Crisis Hotline. I am on call here for you if you need the extra help to get through this, this initial challenge for, your leveling up process, all right? So you guys have a wonderful week. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Take care and really make the most of this week. And remember to keep your sense of humor, all right? Have a good one. I will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.